I did expect our thought leaders and our tech dudes to be braver in this moment, and they are weak. It's bottomless. Their need for wealth and relevance seems to be bottomless, and I do think it's their job. It was their job to be a firewall, and they're not doing it. So they're not interested.
Welcome to Assembly Required with Stacey Abrams from Crooked Media. I'm your host, Stacey Abrams. On Sunday night, 7 Democrats and an independent who caucuses with the Dems voted to invoke cloture, the first step towards ending the Republican government shutdown. In regular times, this show of performative pragmatism might be heralded. It demonstrates that once again, Democrats show that they are the only adults in the room. But these are not regular times. America is undergoing an authoritarian overthrow, and business as usual is no match for those who do not believe that the government should do its job. And to act otherwise is dangerously naive. This Republican regime has been very clear. They will starve children, the elderly, and the disabled in order to fund billionaire tax breaks. They will force workers to go without pay but command their attendance. They will risk millions of families going without health care rather than extend a tax credit for another year. This isn't about politics. This is about power. And until Democrats at the highest levels of government get this, we are in deep trouble. The real harm Republicans are inflicting on American families is not up for debate. What we must decide is if we're going to accept decisions that don't serve us, regardless of who voted for it and why. Now, let's be clear. Republicans control the government, and they have proven once again that they will use the autocrats' playbook to seize more and more control. So we must fight even when our leaders will not. You see, democracy and Democrats had a good day last week, with clean sweeps in Virginia, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania, as well as unexpected Democratic flips in Georgia's Public Service Commission races and Mississippi special elections, which broke the Republican supermajority in their state Senate. Across the country, Americans rallied to show up and cast ballots despite how Republicans are trying to destroy the social safety net. The ongoing Republican shutdown has slashed food supports for working families and closed off vital services. Flights are being canceled, and federal workers are facing another pay period without a paycheck. But authoritarianism works best when it proves that democracy can't deliver the basics. That's the point. Yet, one of the ways we've long coped with the painful consequences of political cruelty is through late-night comedians. Stepping between news and processing, late-night comedy shows give us a bridge to help us understand what's going wrong and the permission to laugh anyway. Comedy at its best walks the line between taking on serious political and cultural issues and finding the funny in ways we least expect. As wannabe strong men are often weak, humorless, and thin-skinned, and this current regime faithfully follows that trend, now is the time to remember where comedy has its power. Trump and his allies are terrified of the very power that humor has to reveal their cowardice and show us our potential for winning. And little is as terrifying to them as having their cruelty and impotence skewered in front of a massive audience. Because the truth is, the Republican regime can dish it out, but they can't take it. Across platforms, they can call people names, hurl insults, say disparaging, derogatory things about their enemies. But when comedians make jokes about their foibles and failures, jokes that are often true, informative, and well-deserved, well, they go on the attack. And in this authoritarian regime, that attack is more than just a string of mean tweets. It's the weaponization of step 6, attack the media and attack the truth. Back in September, Late Night with Jimmy Kimmel was temporarily yanked after what the right called a controversial monologue about Charlie Kirk's murder. And the FCC chair threatened to pull ABC's broadcast license, leading to the network temporarily shutting the show down. After a grassroots boycott from viewers who canceled their Disney and Hulu subscriptions in favor of free speech, the show miraculously returned. And while Kimmel was the most visible comedian, other comedians like Stephen Colbert and Seth Meyers and Jimmy Fallon can attest to how critical their work is, as evidenced by how angrily the right reacts. Now look, comedians and late-night hosts are hardly the most vulnerable victims of the authoritarian tactics to quash all criticism. But as high-profile targets, they do reveal something insidious about how far this regime is willing to go to control the narrative, to decide who gets to speak, and to determine what can be said. That's why comedy in this era takes more than brains and humor. It also takes courage. And today's guest embodies that perfect trifecta of smarts, hilarity, and bravery. Comedian, writer, podcast host, and former host of Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, Samantha Bee joins us to talk about media censorship in the midst of an authoritarian overthrow of America, the future of late night, and what it means to be a woman in a male-dominated field, and how to crack a joke when nothing feels funny. The extraordinary Samantha Bee, welcome to Assembly Required.
I am so delighted to be here. Oh my gosh, I love talking to you. This is going to be so fun. Like, what a bright spot in the day for me, personally.
Me too, and they are doing their level best to make sure we have enough darkness that the light shines really, really bright.
It really does. The light shines in all the weirdest little pockets that I wouldn't normally. Like, I had a tiny ice cream sandwich before I hopped on with you today. Ooh. And I was like, feel that. Look at that. What an incredible moment.
So this is going to be the ice cream sandwich for the week for
Good.
Our listeners. Okay. So, Sam, I want to start with the very beginning and ask, how did you first fall in love with comedy? And why did this become the catalyst for making it your career?
Well, you know what? Always was a comedic person. Like, I think I actually was always kind of the funniest person in my friend group in a way, but always very quiet, like never the class and that continues to this day. Like, I'm just not a person who ever steps into a room and everyone goes, now that she's funny. Like, I'm always pretty, actually, like, very low key. So I always loved comedy and grew up watching comedy, but never had any inclination toward it I never really thought of it as a career or a possibility, even though examples of that were all around. Like, religiously watched Carol Burnett, religiously watched I Love Lucy, all of that stuff, sketch SCTV. I grew up in Canada. I watched it while eating dinner. And I was the first person in my family to go to college. And so that felt like very meaty. So it was like, the job is have a real career. Like, and it doesn't matter what the career is, but you should probably go to law school. I was kind of bad at math, never took chemistry. So I was like, okay, I go down a humanities path. And then I think you apply to law school and then you become a lawyer and then you become the prime minister. Like, I think that's how it works, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the service of that, in the process of that, I took a theater class at college because I thought it would be very easy. And in fact, it actually was, because I loved it so much. And it changed the entire course of my life. So confusing to my family, who had all these other thoughts about me. And then further to that, I later tried comedy because I'm just not a very good serious actor. It turns out that I'm not good at it.
Are you not good at it, or did you not like it as much?
I think I might not be good at it, actually, because I would do like lots of really serious, and I thought of myself as a very serious actor, but I would kind of like be in auditions for very serious parts, and everyone will go, that was really funny, but this is a serious part. And so I was like, I feel like somebody's saying something. Like, should I just receive this message from the universe? And in the end, my friends forced me to try comedy. And the second I started, I loved it. Like, it was like one of those like lightning bolt moments where you're like, oh, I feel no nervousness. I feel no shame. I feel only fully realized on this spotlight in this dirty ass bar where someone has thrown up on the stage. I was like, oh, I've come into myself. And that just kind of, that's how it started, really.
Mm-hmm. So you have a podcast called Choice Words.
I do.
Where you interview people about the choices they've made. And
yeah.
Some of these choices are life-changing and explosive. Some of these are choices that we don't even remember, but they've had this long-lasting effect. So you chose not to be Prime Minister of Canada and instead become a comedian.
I chose. I rejected everybody's insistence that I become the Prime Minister.
Well, but you also chose to use your comedy in a political space. So you weren't a dramatic actor, but you could have chosen any other route for your comedy. Why did you choose political comedy?
Well, in a way, I will say that it kind of chose me, because I've always been just a news junkie in camp, just growing up, like always just receiving the news. It was just a part of, like a lot of people, I'm 56 years old, like a lot of people of my generation, it was kind of it was a ritual, a Sunday ritual to watch 60 Minutes, to watch long form journalism, capping off the week. And it was just part of the routine that we watched the news, ingested it, processed it. My mom was quite just very kind of a left wing. My grandmother was very right. Like, she really admired Nancy Reagan. She was like, I got to wear those pussy bow blouses and get my hair set at night. And my mom was like, we are boycotting apples. Now we're boycotting grapes. Now we were just so kind of at the center of this woman's sandwich of political ideas was me watching the Iran-Contra hearings in Canada. So it really was always a part of my life. And then my husband and I became really just religious viewers of The Daily Show. We got it in Canada. The moment it came on the air John was the host. Essentially, that was when the inaugural ship sailed in Canada, and we watched it every single night. We had a little appointment viewing. We had a little spot for it in our house. It was basically the only television we really watched, on the regular. And I just loved the show. And then as my career sort of progressed as a performer, and I was kind of failing at it, I was doing a lot of comedy, actually, and that was really kind of filling all those buckets. It was really feeding my soul, but it wasn't paying any bills. Mostly it was really satisfying, and I loved it. And I knew that I would perform comedy forever, but it didn't seem like a path to paying a mortgage or having dental care. So I was going to leave the business, actually, continue to do comedy in my spare time in my life, continue to have a tickle trunk filled with crazy wigs in my car at all times until death.
As one must.
Yes. And then I actually got an audition for The Daily Show in New York. And I was shocked, and I thought, okay, well, this will be my swan song. I obviously have to leave this business. It's not sustainable for me. I do have goals for myself. And one of those goals is being having a home, and I got an audition for The Daily Show, and I was like, you know what? This is actually great, because I'll make this the best audition I've ever done in my life, because I know this material. I know the material. I know the show. I know the tone. I know everything about it. So I'll be great at this. I'll train for it like it's the Olympics. I'll do an awesome job. I'll leave it all on the floor. They will not hire me, but I will exit this business knowing that I left it all out there. And then they hired me, because it actually really was a meeting of the mind. So it was political comedy I chose it chose me, but simultaneously. And then I never really did anything else. I mean, I did other stuff, but I love to write. I've written sitcoms, all that stuff. But my heart is political comedy for sure.
So what was the backup plan? What were you going to do the day after if you hadn't gotten picked for The Daily Show?
Well, I was working at an advertising agency as my part-time job, and really messing up my job there, doing a very poor job. Like, I want to say that there were billboards that were supposed to be going up all over the city of Toronto and the metropolitan area that never probably went up. And that was all my fault. They are probably in arrears for hundreds of thousands of dollars for all the jobs that I screwed up. But I did kind of think, okay, I can start, maybe I'll be more serious about this job and do some copywriting and like start kind of working my way through this business. So I wouldn't say that I had a huge plan, and I definitely considered going back to school, but I did know that the industry could not sustain me, or there was something about it that was, I don't love sitting around waiting for people to give me the thumbs up to do things. I don't want someone to give me permission to express myself artistically. And a lot of the acting industry, kind of writ large in Canada too, was very much sitting around going like, I do like you. Actually, you've proven yourself to me. Now I like you. And comedy was a way to like not care what anybody thought, to only be pleasing yourself. And all you really had to do was get 45 members of your family to show up to see you. And that was very possible. And that was enough, truly enough for me.
So in an alternate universe, Sam Bee was the Don Draper of Toronto. Okay.
Oh,
Duly
definitely.
noted.
100%.
So instead, we get Full Frontal with Samantha Bee, which ran for 6 years, and I will say is one of the smartest, funniest political comedy shows of all time. And I have seen Laugh In.
Oh.
So I know. I mean, I
Thank you. Well, you were on it yourself many times.
Well, there is that.
Many times.
Well, before we talk about me, let's talk about you. So what was the genesis of the show? You were on The Daily Show, and then we get Full Frontal. Talk about how that show came about.
Well, I would say that, my husband and I were both at The Daily Show, and we always knew that we wanted to take ownership of our own ideas. We knew that even though it was a great job and we had learned, we were there for a really, really long time. And it just was we knew that it was going to come to an end because you just need honestly, everybody needs a new challenge. They needed fresh talent. We needed a new challenge. And we knew that the new challenge that we would undertake had to have our names on it. Like, it had to be our creation. So while we worked there, we wrote lots of pilot scripts together. We sold lots of shows, and without much, we had sold shows, but they never got greenlit. And then John decided he was leaving The Daily Show. One of the pilot scripts that we had written got greenlit to series at TBS called The Detour, which is a gem. It's a literal gem of a show. If you can find it anywhere, vast libraries of incredible content have disappeared from the world. The Detour may be a victim of that.
Yeah.
And so we decided to leave. We decided to leave the show. Right around the time that John was leaving, we didn't know what form the show would take after, but it didn't really matter to us because we were launching ourselves in a fresh direction, starting something brand new. And then at that time, TBS was like, well, we need a political show. Why don't you do that? And I said yes to that opportunity. And then I thought, as time passed and we started to produce the Detour, and that was incredibly satisfying. And then it came time to kind of put the team together to make Full Frontal. And I really did think, we're only going to have 6. We'll have 6 episodes of this before we get canceled. So let's make them 6 wild episodes. Let's say everything we've ever wanted to say. Like, let's express every frustration. And literally the image I kept using was let's just kick the barn doors down. Let's kick the doors open, set fire to the barn. Let's burn it down. And then we'll get canceled as the business goes. And then we'll just feel great. And then we'll have this calling card of this just precious gem that we created, and we'll be so proud. And then the show went on for 6.5 more years. So it met a moment. It met the moment. And I think we consistently met the moment. And now the moment has truly changed. I feel like we made it all the way through COVID. We were able to film in the backyard because my husband's in the DGA, so everything was like squared with all the unions. Like, it actually was kind of perfect until it ended. And that was really sad. That was a really sad moment. And I do feel I miss it. I miss it, and I miss the people tremendously. And I miss the collaboration of better minds than mine. Like, I miss being in a room with people who are much smarter and better than me, telling me things that I've never heard of before. I really, really miss that. I don't have that. My cats don't. They're not nearly as good at pitching stories. Yeah.
Simply Required with Stacey Abrams is brought to you by ZBiotics. You've heard my friends at Cricket rave about ZBiotics pre-alcohol probiotic drink. Well, the team has created another product to get you more fiber into your diet without changing what you eat. The PhD microbiologist over at ZBiotics understands that 95% of Americans don't get enough fiber. So they genetically engineered a probiotic drink mix called Sugar to Fiber. Sugar to Fiber turns sugar in the foods you eat into a prebiotic fiber called Levain fiber. It's really hard to get Levain from a typical diet, and it helps improve the amount and diversity of fiber that your body receives. Sugar to Fiber is actually taking something that you're eating and changing it to deliver a healthier outcome. You don't have to alter your routine. Just put a pack of Sugar to Fiber in a morning beverage like a smoothie or your water bottle, and you'll be supporting your gut health. Now, gut health is very important. That's why it's a great idea to add ZBiotics Sugar to Fiber to your daily routine this season. It's an easy change to make, and it helps ensure you are getting the diversity of fiber your body needs. Go to zbiotics.com/assembly and use assembly at checkout for 15% off any first-time orders of ZBiotics probiotics. ZBiotics has a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they will refund your money, no questions asked. And thank you, ZBiotics, for sponsoring this episode. Assembly Required with Stacey Abrams is brought to you by Aura Frames. The holidays are just around the corner, and Aura Frames are the perfect gift to give your loved ones so that you can stay connected by shared memories every single day. If you're like my family, the group text is filled with photos of vacations, birthdays, and holiday memories. With Aura Frames, we can now send the images directly to my parents and everyone else. It's easy to use. Just download the Aura app and connect to Wi-Fi to upload unlimited photos and videos. And there are no hidden fees. You can even preload photos before it ships and keep adding them from anywhere, anytime. Named #1 by Wirecutter, you can save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com. For a limited time, listeners can get $20 off their best-selling Carver matte frame with code AURA20. That's auraframes.com, promo code AURA20. Support the show by mentioning us at checkout. Terms and conditions apply. Well, before I was lucky enough to be featured on the show, and we met in person during my 2018 campaign for governor, your team ran a segment about the Georgia State House during my time as minority leader. Mm-hmm. And in the sketch, you brought attention to this extraordinarily absurd attempt by a Republican legislator to block a bill that would have addressed a massive rape kit backlog in the state. Yes. And it was your coverage, in part, that helped us push through the legislation despite opposition. So, I hope you understand, and I hope folks listening understand just how real politics sometimes comedy shows can be. And that's one of the reasons I wanted you on the show today, because I think all the time about how that comedy show played a role in helping women and some men get justice. Right. So how do you think about the role that comedy can play in shedding not just a light on injustice, but shaming bad political actors?
Well, it's difficult because it's not like if you launched a comedy show with the intention to be super consequential politically, like to just change people's mind. You would never succeed. It's not possible to succeed. You have to earnestly, I think it's tricky because you have to organically care about these stories and have a group of people just kind of like pushing toward a goal of expressing something that other people have been working on for ages, but only you can tell the story in this exact way, which is sharp and short and processed in a way that is like it's an entertainment for people, and they're also learning about an issue that they may not be aware of. It's like it has a different vibe, and it's very digestible and very just like a beautiful little package that you can present, and everyone goes, "What the hell are you talking about?" Whereas, if everybody's been like hundreds of people working on this issue for 20 years.
Right.
It can get in the weeds. They have other stuff to care about, but if they can digest it in 5 minutes. So I think that's it's a very effective tool. It's a very effective way to present information that is digestible and interesting and like fun in a way, even though the subject matter is really hard. And I think that is the best use of political comedy. It's just processing information in a way that is also entertaining, which is how I like to receive. I love to receive information in entertaining packages. Like I will listen to the wonkiest stuff for sure. But I like to be presented with wonky material in an entertaining way, with an entertaining voice, in a way that maybe I've never considered before, or like laying out the stakes for me in a way that I can just walk away from the experience going, oh, this, and this? You mean the only thing that has to change is this one little thing, and this problem is resolved in some way? Like the rape kit backlog story is one that did really affect change in a lot of different places. It really, really did. And I think generally as comedians, we don't like to claim that because it's not our work that made it happen. We just were the end piece, just the little cherry on top of the sundae that made more people mad about it. So that's the only thing I'll claim.
So I'm going to push back on that a little bit, because I write romance novels about environmental justice. I write legal thrillers about AI and DEI. And I do not believe that my novels or my children's books about child hunger are going to save the world. But what it does do, and I think you just said this, my mission is to help people understand it in a way that feels real and accessible.
Yes.
And what I would say about what you did on your show repeatedly, particularly around the rape kit bill, was that it wasn't just the cherry on the top. It was the humanization of a topic in a forum where it was unexpected, and therefore it broke through.
Right.
Talking about rape kits on 11 Alive News is not going to necessarily pop when people are hearing about all of the other cruelties.
Right.
But when a comedy show says, look, I'm going to show you both the absurdity of this moment, but also how easy it would be for people to do the right thing, I think that's the power of comedy, and that's the power of what you did for 6 years. So I'm not going to let you dismiss it and make a joke of it. Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But I always like to, it is one of those things where you're like, okay, well, I think I like to repeat this to the world, which is that we can't do comedy shows unless people are doing work and people are doing journalism. And we're processing all of that across a huge staff, and we're able to juggle all those things and research everything independently, and we are relying on other people to do all of this exceptional work in order for us to quote unquote break a story in a way that it just is shareable, so it gets shared more, and it's easier for someone to click on a link that's 4 minutes long, and usually they only get about 45 seconds.
Yeah.
But it is, I feel like 45 seconds might be generous, but it's easier to click on that than your Channel 11 hard hitting local journalism. Oh, local journalism is under siege.
Yeah.
Everything is under siege. Woo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's the next part of what I want to talk to you about, because you're right. There's a symbiosis between journalism and political comedy, and that has no greater presence than late night. And yet right now, the media landscape is both ethically and, I would say, economically pressured. In May, CBS canceled The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And, you said you were shocked but not surprised because the show was definitely hemorrhaging money. But at the same time, we also know that we've just watched 60 Minutes compromise itself in real time. We've seen these firings at CBS under the new regime. And the question of how journalism is being made manifest, and then again, that symbiosis making its way to late night, seems to be under some jeopardy. So, Sam B., what is the future?
I don't have the I wish that I had the answer. I feel terrible about it. I find it frightening. I don't quite know what the answer is. It's just a huge inflection point. Literally listening to the radio today, and this all just happened. Two huge figures at the BBC just had to resign because they are under pressure from shareholders and groups within their organization who have political agendas, who bring their brand of right-wing populism, and they want their views reflected in the news. And it's just, I find it really scary, and I don't really, unfortunately, have the answers. If I had the answer, I would certainly provide. I really do think, well, I guess this is a bigger thought that isn't necessarily it's not even really media centered, but I do think that it behooves anyone who has the money and the power and the agency to stand up to Donald Trump and his administration to do it. I think it's one thing to ask someone who relies on their job to feed their family in journalism, to put pressure, to put the gears to them. It's very difficult to ask them to stand up and go, well, just quit your job. That people have lives. Yeah. They have to live. They have to feed their families. They are subject to pressures that very wealthy people are not subject to. What is the point of having fuck you money if you never say fuck you with your money? All the people with fuck you money should be standing up right now and directly saying fuck you across every industry. And they are actually not doing that because it appears that no amount of money is fuck you money now for a lot of people. Yeah. And I find that to be exceptionally chilling. Now is the time for people who are able to be brave, to be very brave, to build a herd around people who don't have the privilege to be quite so brave. I think I'm getting really heated. I honestly could cry talking about this because I did expect our thought leaders and our tech dudes to be braver in this moment, and they are weak, with certain exceptions. They're cowardly and very just seem to have an endless hole in which money is shoveled in. And I'm like, what is enough for you? What is enough? What is it's bottomless. Their need for wealth and relevance seems to be bottomless. And I do think it's their job. It was their job to be a firewall, and they're not doing it. So they're not interested.
I mean, one of the things you just said about bravery to me is it's being willing to stand against what feels like inevitable zeitgeist. And, we're watching this play out with the attacks on DEI, which always begin with race. But you and I both know women are often the strongest recipients of what is construed as DEI, which is simply that we should have policies and procedures and laws that say that you should have equal access to opportunity in this country.
Yeah.
And in a sort of a smaller space, at the start of 2019, you became the only woman in late night after this wave of cancellations, which very much presaged what we're watching happen right now. And we saw shows like Sarah Silverman's I Love You, America, and Robin Thede The Rundown all get cut. And at the time, you said, I don't feel good being the last woman standing in this space right now. And we're watching the same thing happen. And to your point, we're watching this cowardice, but also this avarice reshape what it means, not just to be American, but what it means to be part of civilization, at least Western civilization. And I think about what it took for you to keep your ratings up week after week, knowing how few women were left in that space. So if these tech bros who are awash in money and completely devoid of cojones are listening to you, what can you tell them about courage?
I don't know. They're not, and believe me, they heard my voice and stopped listening. I think it's an important conversation and I ring this bell all the time, and I know others do, and philosophers and, more bigger thinkers than me, but I do think that people need to have a real conversation with themselves about what is enough in their life and figure out what that point is, and then start doing good. Start imagining the world they want to leave behind. We're supposed to leave behind a world that is better than when we entered it. And I don't think that people are getting that. I think that people have forgotten that message. And I don't think that the everyday person is actually losing track of that at all. But so many of our industries, and I mean, the media is a perfect example of this, is just in a period of total contraction where we're just giving all of our power and attention to these gigantic media monopolies now who don't have our best interests at heart. And I think people on the ground do kind of understand what's at stake, and they do understand how to put goodness back, and they do understand, hopefully, for the most part, how to take care of their neighbors and what is required. But our leaders are failing us. It really says a lot to me. I won't say what it was, but I did go to a fundraiser. It was a couple of years ago, actually, and it was a pretty uncomfortable room for me to be in. I didn't fit in. I don't know why I was there. I think I was like, what is this world? Like, do I belong here? And the answer was absolutely not, because it really was about environmental justice. It was like a conservation-related organization. It was like they do great work. And then they gave an award to someone who is single-handedly responsible for doing all the damage that they're trying to unwind. Yeah. And everybody's clapping. And I'm like, if you just got this motherfucker to do one thing right, we wouldn't have to be here, because the reason all the logging is happening is because of him. And when he makes a big donation to you, it doesn't even touch what he has robbed this world of. Anyway, sorry. I'm really on a very vague soapbox here, but
it's a very strong soapbox. And I think it's an important point, because I once served on a fairly prestigious organization's advisory committee, and I watched them do something similar. I'm like, this is someone who has set fire to 9 of the 10 key rights. But the fact that they, just blew a little bit on the 10th one, you're like, oh, you're wonderful. And I think we've sort of shifted our sense of what we expect, because we are so satisfied with the bare minimum that we've forgotten to imagine what's possible. Yes. And I wonder, as a writer and a comedian and a thought leader, which you are, how do you think artists, especially comedians, should be processing this very fraught moment? Because I think you're right. We're at this inflection point, and the reactions we're seeing from our putative leaders is failing at best. And yet people are looking around saying, how can I react? What should I be thinking? Because the public looks to entertainment, to political leaders, to rich people to kind of give signals. Like, what signals should we be sending right now beyond bravery and courage? How can people be publicly reacting, particularly given what you pointed out, which is that there are real risks to being loud. There are risks to taking a stand.
I think you have to assess how much risk you can take on, because that's really hard. That's a difficult assessment. And then, I also, like, a very regular player on my show was M. Gesson, who I adore. And they said to me, early days, Full Frontal, that you have to decide what your red line is. And that was first, early days, first Trump administration. We were talking about the rise of authoritarianism, actually. So prescient. Yes. And they said you have to decide as a human being what your red line is and what you will and will not do. And once you decide what your red line is, you can never cross it. You can never cross it. And that has been my North Star ever since. And it's hard. It can be very difficult to stick to know yourself. It's hard to know yourself. I'm older. I came into the entertainment industry. I already knew what a lot of my red lines were because I had lived longer. Because success in the entertainment industry came to me later. I was already a fully formed person. And that just has been the guiding principle for me. I think as an artist, you just have to drench yourself in the truth. Like, political comedy is worthless if it's not standing in truth. That's all I can offer. Like, things come up, things come up. You have to ask yourself, are you meeting the moment with your work? Are you well off enough that you can say no to opportunities if they don't match your ethics? Yeah. Well, that's something for you and your God to decide, I guess. But I have my own ideas about that.
Well, I appreciate you saying it that way, because part of what we're trying to do through the show, through the 10 Steps campaign, is give people the ability to assess where we are in this authoritarian takeover, but also what they can do. We call it the 10 Steps to Freedom and Power. And I think what you've just laid out is really, for me, a beautiful encapsulation of how I want people to think about it. Pick your red lines. Pick the thing that for you is, you can go so far and no further to, invoke Lord of the Rings. But you've got to have limits, but that means you also have to have beliefs. And, we've watched Trump attack all of our rights. It started in his first term, but in this second term, he has been joined by much of the Republican Party. And while he might be the mouthpiece, we have seen that a party that has the ability to push back or denounce his actions or reject corruption refuse to do so. And so I'm thinking about what it means to you to be someone who is willing to be visible and out front, making political comedy, making appearances in places where it might not be to your best interest. When someone's thinking about their red line, what do you think about as your North Star? Because I think that's the other part. There's the thing we won't do, the thing we cannot countenance. But what are the things for you that are just so sacrosanct, you're going to do it because it needs to be done?
Oh, wow, that's so interesting. I don't know that I can sum them up perfectly, but I know that there are just issues that I will always care about. And you will never convince me that you have a Christian heart if you don't think that refugees belong in your country. Like, that for me, I'm like, you can tell me what you want about yourself, but your position on refugees tells me everything about who you are as a person. That's a big one for me. I think voting should be mandatory. I think, I really, I don't, there's just, I come at it from a very, I guess from a human rights, from a civil rights perspective. I just feel like there's really nothing special about someone, if they're rich and powerful, they're still a human being. And I try to see the humanity in people, and I would never waver from that. Like, this is so morbid, but I often think, well, who would I want to be on my deathbed? Do I want to have loved everyone as best I could? Or do I want to be like successful? Like, do I I want to have loved. I want to have helped. That's all. What else is there?
Okay, so that is a perfect answer.
Oh.
And
I was shocked by myself.
No, that is. I mean, look, it's a hard thing for people to agree that it's okay to want things to be good. But part of the corollary, and I think it's what you've done so deftly through your comedy, is that you, I think, agree with Roxane Gay, who wrote a piece back in September where she said that the MAGA right wants the left to always be civil, as if there's this perfect, polite way to debate humanity. Mm-hmm. But she calls it a fantasy and argues that when people's rights and lives are on the line, we don't have to play nice. And what you've said is, for you, your success is not the money in your bank account, but it's, did you do the right thing? And I guess as a comedian, and you're someone whose jokes can be sharp, even as they contain a very hilarious truth. What do you think about this discourse of where civility plays a role and how much truth and vulnerability we should have as we confront this, sort of wave of cruelty that we're in?
Well, we talked a lot about it on Full Frontal, actually, that civility is not, it's always kind of, it's always people telling you to just like be quiet and be nice and, compromise your, well, if you're compromising everything and the people with the power and control are giving up nothing, then I just don't see, I think that civility feels quite worthless in those. So sometimes you do just need to stand up and scream. If not, whether it has an effect on the outcome or not, at least everyone who feels the same way that you do is achieving some type of catharsis. Maybe it's motivating in some way. I think civility is pretty overrated. I certainly am not in any way advocating that we edge toward political violence. This is like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about discourse.
Assembly Required with Stacey Abrams is brought to you by OneSkin. This time of the year, our skin needs a little extra TLC. Between changing weather and the rush of the holidays, it's easy for your skin to feel dull, dry, or stressed. With OneSkin, I can take one worry off my list. As a regular user of OneSkin products, my evening routine continues to deliver the powerful skincare and longevity benefits, especially OS1i. Certified safe for sensitive skin, OneSkin products are free from over 1,500 harsh or irritating ingredients, dermatologist tested, and have been awarded the National Eczema Association's Seal of Acceptance, delivering powerful results without the side effects. All of OneSkin's products are designed to layer seamlessly or replace multiple steps in your routine, making skin health easier and smarter at every age. OneSkin also just launched their limited edition holiday sets, including the Nightly Rewind gift set, which adds the perfect touch of luxury to your gift list. It's the ultimate upgrade to any nightly ritual. Featuring their best-selling face moisturizer, their brand new peptide lip mask, and a sculpting gua sha tool, each element is designed to work together as your body enters its natural nightly repair mode, helping renew skin at the cellular level for a stronger, smoother, and more youthful-looking complexion. For a limited time, try OneSkin for 15% off using code ASSEMBLY at oneskin.co/assembly. After you purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. You recently did a one-woman show about bodily autonomy called How to Survive Menopause. As a 51-year-old who thinks every time I'm a little overheated that maybe it's starting, I appreciate it. This stage in a woman's life is so under-discussed, and it certainly doesn't receive the medical attention it deserves.
No.
And we know that lifestyle and healthcare issues are often top of mind. And while they're explicitly personal, they're also inherently political. So why did you decide to tackle it, and how do you situate this show in the political discussion?
Well, I decided to talk about it because, and I'm still doing the show, by the way. I actually have dates coming up. And if anyone's looking for tickets, How to Survive Menopause, SamanthaBee.com. It's a really fun show. It's actually very funny and incredibly satisfying, and I love doing it. It's my favorite. I consider it to be, I found it very difficult entering perimenopause, like right around the time the show started in 2016. That's when I first started to kind of like enter perimenopause. And literally no one was talking about it then, actually. Like the word was not spoken out loud. And we're talking about 2016. We're not talking about 50 years ago. I don't think I heard the word perimenopause until 2 years into it. When my doctor said the word perimenopause in an appointment, and I cried. So if anything, now we're dealing with an onslaught of information that is actually, we're in the weeds. It's actually too much because there are too many grifters trying to overload us. And the shame of it is coming from different directions now. I have a lot of forming thoughts about the onslaught of information that we're all like subject to on the subject of menopause, whereas we never talked about it before. Now we're talking about it maybe a little too much in some very interesting ways. And it's become a big like cash grab. Like it's really the new gold rush. But I wanted to talk about it because I feel very passionately that this audience of people is really unseen, that we're still really tethered to a lot of shame that really echoes the shame we might have felt about our bodies when we first started getting our periods and first started like concealing tampons up our sleeves so nobody would ever know. Where we started worrying that our maxi pad smelled like an evergreen tree and somebody would know in our math class. It's just kind of the other, parenthesis at the other end of our life. And it's really unfair. And when I first really realized that I was in it, I found it very difficult to talk about. And I mean, like, I found it impossible to talk about. It really, really was so emotionally upsetting to me. And I don't even really know why. It was just nobody talked about it. I felt like it was my fault. I thought I was maybe going crazy. I didn't understand my symptoms. I didn't know what to do. I felt really out of control. And I also couldn't really talk about it without crying, honestly. And so it took a few years. I started talking about it. We did an episode at the show about it. And as I sat with all my brilliant writers and amazing producers, I still couldn't talk about it without crying just a little bit. And when they would write funny jokes about it and I would read the funny jokes, I would still cry a little bit because I wasn't ready to really like go there. Or I was in a kind of a process, and I really did think to myself, in the present day, if it was that hard for me to talk about, and I will talk about anything, I will yap about anything. If it was that hard for me, who is very, very accustomed to talking about difficult subjects in a sharp and interesting way, if it was that hard for me, it must be so hard for people in everyday life. Not for everyone, but like it must be, this is really something. It is very difficult. We carry a lot of shame and a lot of anxiety around this. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to talk about it. I'm just going to go there. I'm going to go there. I'm going to talk about it. We're going to have a great time. I'm going to tell everybody all the crazy shit that happened to me. So maybe they'll like feel a little bit seen, feel a little bit better, feel a little bit, like I don't have to actually I don't have to take these supplements. I don't necessarily need to buy everything that is offered to me. Maybe I can sit back and think about that for 1 second. Like I do need a better doctor. Yeah, my doctor is a 34-year-old man who rides a fold-up bike to work. Maybe he doesn't really know what perimenopause is because he only studied it for 1 hour in in medical school. Like maybe there's a reason why I should get a doctor who has a lived experience of this, perhaps, so that I can be seen and be cared for in the way that I need. Like, it's very important to me. I enjoy it immensely. The audience, I think, really enjoys it too. It's like short and sharp and it feels great. Every time I do it, I feel better in my position. My thoughts about it are evolving. And so that's where I'm at. I love it.
Awesome.
Love it.
Okay, last thing for you. So I like to ask all of my guests for a piece of actionable advice or a task for the audience. We have homework here.
Okay.
So if you can give people a reason to keep their sense of humor or a way to keep their sense of humor right now, what would that advice be?
A way to keep their sense of humor right now. How do I keep my sense of humor right? Well, if I didn't have my sense of humor, I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do.
Is there something you're watching, someone you're reading, someone you like?
I watch cats launching themselves into Christmas trees. I will watch any video where a cat is located in where your Christmas tree is rustling and then a cat pops out. I know it's so on brand that I would watch cat videos to soothe myself, but I 100% do. Or baby goats, or an octopus using a tool. Little animal videos. I mean, they really...
Animal videos to save the world.
To save
Samantha
the world.
Bee, thank you so much for joining me today on Assembly Required.
Thank you so, so much.
As always on Assembly Required, we're here to give you real, actionable tools to face today's biggest challenges. First, be curious. If you enjoyed my conversation with Sam Bee, take a listen to her podcast, Choice Words, or visit her website at sambee.com. It's the easiest, best thing you'll do all week. Number 2, solve problems. As of this recording, while ending the government shutdown is still being negotiated, the real harm being done to American families is not up for debate. Republicans who control the government have argued that after 15 years and no solutions, the answer is to break what's actually working, the Affordable Care Act. We know that the answer is to extend the ACA subsidies to save 24 million families from skyrocketing healthcare costs or the terrifying prospect of losing their coverage entirely, and to help the rest of us who will see our premiums go up as well. The answer is clear. Just fix it. Regardless of what Congress does, we have to keep up the pressure. This isn't going away, but it can be corrected. So please visit 10stepscampaign.org/justfixit to help us send a message to Washington and every elected official. Do your jobs. And step 3, do good. Also, as of this recording, the Trump administration and Republicans are still refusing to follow the law and issue SNAP benefits for millions of Americans. They've also threatened governors who are trying to fill in the gaps. Beyond this immediate crisis, broader SNAP cuts will still mean that families are going to struggle to put food on the table. So we have to do the work for them. 1, ask local businesses if they can help set up a community fridge so that people can donate items to those in need. And 2, please continue to stay in touch with your local food bank or anti-hunger organizations and learn about ways to get involved. Assembly Required continues to grow its audience, but we need your help. More and more people are looking for ways to understand what's going on, and they want to hear the voices of experts who can give them insights and action items. So tell people about us. Be sure to share this episode and subscribe on all your favorite platforms. Boost our visibility by rating the show and leaving a comment. You can find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast. And please also check out my Substack, Assembly Notes, where we dive deep and where I can share more of my thoughts on how we fight back against this authoritarian regime. And thank you to the thousands of you who've already signed up for the 10 Steps campaign at 10stepscampaign.org. We now have a toolkit where you can find concrete examples of the 10 steps to freedom and power. We include links to organizations, recommendations for you, regardless of where you are or what you're ready to do. And we're constantly adding new organizations and examples of how to get involved. I'd love to hear more about how you're processing what's happening around us and what tools or resources would be helpful. If you have a report, a question, or a comment for me, send it in. You can start with an email to assemblyrequired@crooked.com or leave us a voicemail, and you and your questions and comments might be featured on the pod. Our number is 213-293-9509. Well, that wraps up this episode of Assembly Required with Stacey Abrams. Be careful out there, and I'll meet you here next week.